Just to maybe orient myself in terms of kind of my conflicts and the hats I wear. I currently serve as a prof at the Vancouver Island University. I've been a nurse for a couple decades at least. And I am the chair of the Psychedelic-Assisted Therapy Graduate Certificate Program, and I'm delighted to hear there's also one here, and maybe some opportunities to partner. We also receive international students, not that I would ever poach any from these guys, but really nice to hear that we've got some different things going on both sides of the world. We also have a service delivery organization, so we run like a three-prong knowledge system. We do research, more like real-world research, where we're developing programs, we research them, improve them, develop more, publish it to try and promote just knowledge around what's working, what's not working to help psychedelic programming develop across the world. We also do the education program through the Vancouver Island University. And we do service delivery for what our government calls treatment-resistant conditions. So it's often for people that have tried everything else in our publicly funded system, and they come to our door with what is called, I really don't like the term, treatment-resistant depression, PTSD, generalized anxiety, and addictions. So we've really had our work cut out for us. We've hit tons of edges trying to learn how to do this and how to create really safe, predictable containers for people to do a lot of healing work in a very liminal space. And as we all know, that can be very dicey. So just like, what are the core factors that are required to really stabilize a program? We work in groups. We've chosen that because we found it's the most effective. We get the best results. We work with ketamine in groups primarily. We started with psilocybin and found actually that ketamine, for a number of reasons that I don't have a lot of time to go into, actually is far more gentle, and in a group environment we've had a lot more success with it. We also work with MDMA and psilocybin. We do more individual sessions with that. And psilocybin and MDMA on the regulatory front are much more difficult right now. So our initial plan was, let's work with ketamine. It does the trick. We'll build the container, build the programs, and when the other psychedelics become more easily accessible, we'll have the container that we can include them. And I think in Canada, we have a little bit more liberty than a lot of people. We have a special access program where the government allows us to apply for special access for psilocybin and MDMA. So we can do it all in the regulatory space. In our education program through the university, we work across the underground and the overground. Similar to what I heard this morning, trying to really connect all the dots, and including having a system that brings in traditional healing ways as well. So we work with elders, local Indigenous elders. We also work with elders from South America and other areas where they still are working with psychedelics as part of their culture. The idea of what we're trying to do, and it is walking a very fine edge, is create a bit of a third space where those of us that have lost kind of our Indigenous roots, we're all Indigenous to somewhere, and many of us over time, over generations, have lost how to work with some of our own traditions, including like land-based and connecting not just to our bodies, but spiritual guides and to the land. And these traditional healers are a really important part of reteaching us what is kind of our birthright and what we've all lost over the generations of colonization. Oh, I'm feeling a little nervous, so mind my voice. So my primary study is with resilience. I got into it really to figure out myself, honestly. I did a doctorate in it with the big question of what matters. Like, I went through every single treatment door I could imagine. I would have also been considered treatment resistant on a few different fronts. I found psychedelics about 10 years ago, left my babies at home, went to Peru and had kind of my first experience with ayahuasca. And it was the first time in my life memory that I was like able to be in my body for more than a few minutes and really like feel my pilot light and like all the signals Otherwise, most of my life I've been kind of in survival mode. So it was a big moment for me. It felt like light came in. I had also finished my doctorate on resilience, came home and found a crew on Vancouver Island, including a physician and a psychiatrist and therapists. We're all kind of multidisciplinary, working with our kind of local Indigenous nations as well. And we created this program through our health authority and through the university, really looking at what matters, what works, how do we create community environments, knowing that most of the symptoms that we're seeing on the surface with the depression, anxiety, PTSD, we can treat those symptoms, but they tend to not work. They're very short term. How do we treat the roots? And those roots are often just disconnection. We are a disconnected people. So how do we do that in a way that feels safe and that people can move at the pace of trust and that honors like all of the cultures of the folks that we're serving as well. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the theory of what we operate under, and Phil, my partner in crime here, and also my partner, he's the structured one. I'm kind of the like nutty professor that philosophizes way too much and is probably more on the chaos side, and he puts all the linear lines in. So that's what this is going to look like. I'm going to do the chaos side, and he's going to organize it so it's a little more understandable. Oh, there we go. So this tree, we've been using it for a while to just talk about the 2 core resilience factors. These go back over the last 100 years. Congruence is with Carl Rogers. Many are familiar with him. He's kind of a standby psychologist, researcher. And it's really, congruence represents how aligned our real self, like our true nature, is with the self that we show on the surface. Most of us, by the time we're in our 20s, are less than 20% congruent. We've hidden all these, the parts of ourselves that, might get us rejected, might be a threat to our ability to be loved and accepted. And so we only show the few parts of ourselves that the world will accept. And this is just a product of colonization and assimilation. It's not a conscious process. It is how we survive in the societies that we live in. So congruence is a major resilience factor. It is a major proponent to how we stay healthy and mentally healthy. Congruence is by Aaron Antonovsky. He was a researcher. He researched Holocaust survivors in the 70s, and there's been decades of research since, and I'll talk a little bit about that. Both of these factors, when we have them, when we develop them, are like a tree, if you can imagine yourself like a tree. They're like our root systems. So the more congruent and the more sense of coherence we have, the deeper and stronger our roots are. We all have weather going around us at all times. It's just the world we live in, and right now there's a lot of weather out there. That can be your finances, that can be, the political stuff moving around you, it can be employment, all the stuff that feels stressful is our weather. And like a tree, if you can imagine a tree and a strong wind blows, if you have deep roots, those winds might actually feel refreshing, kind of blowing through your foliage. You might like it, it feels good, you're stable, it's not going to blow you over. If you don't have deep roots and they're pretty shallow, you don't have a lot of congruence or sense of coherence, that weather can feel very threatening. It can activate the stress response. So it's kind of the difference between those that are thriving and those that are surviving is not necessarily the weather. It's our constitution and our perception of the weather. So getting resilient, and that's really what our program is all about. How do we get resilient so that we can be the hub of the wheel while the rest of the wheel is spinning around us and not get caught up in it? We have a strong center place because we have these factors. So again, just quick on the congruent side. You can tell how congruent you are by how authentic you are, right? If your yes is your yes, when somebody asks you to do something and your body's like, no, and you say, sure, right? That is an act of incongruence. And every time we do that, shame builds up in us. So the more incongruent we live our lives, the more shame that we carry. So there's a lot of us walking around with a lot of shame, and that shame spills out of us. So that means it also causes us to put shame on other people, and we do it in very artful ways. The older we get, the better we get at shaming ourselves and each other. On the more extreme sides, people get called bullies. And these people that carry the most shame, the most incongruent, are also suffering the most. So there's a bit of a compassionate lens there as well. Okay, moving faster. So this is another one just around congruence, is this idea of signal. We all have like this inner healing intelligence. There's lots of words, pilot light, true nature, that's our signal. When the world outside of us is prescribing who we should be and how we should act, that is noise. And many of us, it's very hard to understand what our signal is because there's so much noise in there. So a lot of our program is really trying to get down to like helping people understand their signal so that their yes can be yes, their no can be no. And you can tell when you've got some rattles or distortions in there, and then you know how to deal with them. Sense of coherence, there's 3 factors. It's how confident you are in the world, how much meaning you have in your day-to-day life, and how much you understand your world. Meaning is very, very, very important. I underscore this all the time. If you've got, we all have fear. I have fear up here, I can feel it in my belly. And it's meaningful, right? So when we have more meaning than fear, we have courage. If we don't have meaning and all we have is fear, we will not have the courage to do what we need to do, to heal, to do significant actions, to act in ways that are important to us and our values, to act in agency. It is kind of like if you were on an ocean and you didn't have a surfboard, you didn't know how to use a surfboard, and there was big waves coming at you. If you have low sense of coherence, you're going to be beneath the waterline. You're going to be stressed, you're going to be scared. That would be a case when you have low sense of coherence. On the other hand, if you know those waves, you've been out there, you maybe even seek them out, you love the big ones because you know you can do it, right? It's that confidence, understanding, meaning. It's even kind of fun. That's the difference between what Antje Novoski's talking about with the Holocaust survivors is even though we might be in the same environment, going through the same, what would look like suffering conditions, some of us will be thriving in it and others will be in kind of survival mode. And it's really learning how to move in the world with high sense of coherence and creating the factors that enable us to do it. We cannot will ourselves to be better. Trust me, I know. I've tried for most of my life. Willpower doesn't work in this. It is about creating the kind of conditions that humans need to thrive. And many of us that have tried to live on willpower, we end up feeling like failures and living in shame. So it's a really important way of also letting ourselves off the hook for all of the past decisions that we've made that weren't very conscious when our nervous systems are driving the bus. We work with ketamine and other psychedelics, kind of like they are the surfboard. So when somebody has, people talk about ketamine like it's a dissociative. I don't really like that word. I'd rather say it actually gives people like extreme non-attachment. So you can be in your body and those emotions that were otherwise too unsafe to feel can come to the surface and can be felt. Kind of like if you're watching a storm. You're sitting on a lawn chair and you're watching it go by, but it's not threatening you. You might even like enjoy watching it go by. These emotions are allowed to surface, kind of like a sliver coming out of your body to be felt. And when you're in a safe environment, and we hold people, we use energetic, we have somatic energy healers in our rooms, we have folks trained in touch, we do a ton of consent around it. And we really just try and help people feel like they are in a secure environment, much like a baby deserves to have when they're born, being held and learning to trust that the world outside of them can really see them with unconditional positive regard and can really compassionately witness them in a very authentic way. I'm not going to go into this, even though I really, really love it. I will just say there are parts of our brain how this works when we do this with groups, and one of those is mirror neurons. We do a lot of compassionate witnessing where we're mirroring. So people are vulnerable and they are met with compassionate witnessing and they learn unconditional positive regard. And it's a really important aspect. Many of us are familiar with secure attachment. It's kind of a Western theory. Secure attachment is not just with other people. Other traditions would say secure attachment is also about your relationship with the natural world, your relationship with the spiritual world. In the West, it's more about your relationship with humans. This mirroring is how we get there. It's how we build trust, this empathic mirroring, and that's part of our community of practice and what we do. The other part of our brain is anterior cingulate cortex. It is the part of our brain where athletes, those that kind of live on the edges, they're very big. This part of our brain gets very large when we live on the edges. And you have to have a high sense of coherence to do it, but it creates high agency. So it's what enables us to persevere when life gets hard. It's doing those significant things that we need to do, getting on that surfboard when the waves are big, really important part of our healing. So a lot of our program is helping people kind of get on the edges, live a little bit outside of their comfort zone, not too far, just enough for their trust can hold them. And that's what helps build those resilience factors. All right, I'm almost done, Phil, I promise. So the 4 practices that we really go on are awareness, like becoming aware, which is a really big part of forgiving ourselves for all the times of unawareness. And it's a slow process. It happens over our lifetime as we become more conscious of who we are, what matters to us. We can't get there until we start regulating our bodies, these vessels that are holding us. Our bodies are incredible channels. It is where spirit comes through, inspired, inspirited. We cannot be inspired and inspirited if our body is super, super noisy because it's stressed and living in survival zones. We've got to get our bodies to a regulated place. So we do a lot of somatic work, like just helping people understand their emotions and sensations, refriending them so they're not so threatening, and really working with them in a way like they're benevolent messengers rather than things that we need to shut off because, they're distracting us or keeping us from achieving. All of that gets us to compassion, the ability to feel unconditional positive regard for ourselves. We cannot feel that unless we have received it. So that's a lot of what we do in our communities of practice is we share the vibration of unconditional positive regard. You can't study it, you have to feel it. And it is a lot of what we do week after week is getting that vibration deep in so that it can be shared and pointed inward as well. Once you're there, you can align with your purpose because you're starting to know who you are, you're starting to trust your body in the cues, the sacred yeses and the sacred nos, and you're starting to be able to give unconditional positive regard inwardly and outwardly. Finally, it's my last one. We work a lot with cross-culture. So this is, and it's tricky. We walk a lot of edges around how do we, in the kind of colonial Western systems, really honor the wisdom that has been known since time immemorial as just as equal to Western science. And quite honestly, Western science is new in their understanding. We are learning what these people have known for thousands of years. So we're really walking that line of working together. The elder that we work with, Elder Geraldine Manson, says, she calls it not smart. It's time for us to walk together with one mind and one spirit. And it takes time. It's sticky, it's tricky, and it's a lot of relationship and trust building. And it really is our way forward. And from there, I'm going to pass it to Phil.
Okay, thanks everyone. I'm Phil Dames. My role at Roots to Thrive is the Director of Operations. Really grateful to be here and grateful to be in this space, and a lot of gratitude to all the folks who've organized this event. It's been awesome so far. So Also just want to really humbly and gratefully acknowledge where we are in Nanaimo, British Columbia, where we have the privilege of delivering our services. It's on the traditional and unceded territory of the Snuneymuxw First Nation. Grateful for the relationship we have with that community. And as Shannon mentioned today, I'm going to speak to, Shannon spoke to the theory. I'm going to speak to what it looks like. What does our program look like? What does it feel like? And what is it structured like? And I'm going to try and do this quickly. I think it's important to start with what is the core intention of what we're doing. So when you really peel back all the layers, we are co-creating spaces of unconditional positive regard. And I think it's important to point out two things here. Number one is the co-creation piece. This isn't our team creating it. This isn't one or two people. It is our team alongside participants in our program, all of us stepping in together, equaling the playing field. We're all on the same level, and we're all in this moving together as one. And then the other piece is unconditional positive regard. And three words we often share in our program are just show up. And we know, and our research has shown it, that if we can create these spaces with participants where we all feel safe enough to just show up, whether you've had a good day, bad day, your hair's messy, you got food on your face, you're crying like a baby, whatever it is, just show up and experience what it feels like to be held in that community and to be held in that compassion week after week. Our programs are very intentionally structured. Shannon talked about this a little bit, but we believe that when we're stepping into these, our programs are 12 weeks in duration, but when we're stepping into these 12 weeks, we're stepping into some liminality, into a liminal space. And when you're in liminality, there's uncertainty. So we feel it's very important to provide predictability, a structure that's repeatable, that's familiar, and that participants can not only experience week after week with us, but then they can carry it forward into their community if they want to. So every single piece of the community of practice is driven by that core intention of co-creating the space of UPR. So as far as what our programs look like, we offer two group programming options. They're pretty much identical, but the only difference is one has ketamine as a medicine and one does not. And I think one important piece to point out here is participants are all organized into small groups of 6 or 8 participants with 2 facilitators, and they're mixed. So in one small group, you might have 4 or 5 individuals receiving ketamine and 2 or 3 individuals that aren't. And that's intentional, but we all move as one through the 12 weeks. Anyone in the ketamine program, it's considered medical, so there's a referral that's required for them to participate. And yeah, you can see all the details up there, and I'm not going to read all of them one by one. But everybody is in the same small group. So 6 or 8 participants per small group. They meet on a weekly basis for 12 weeks. On weeks 5, 7, and 9, there are ketamine-assisted therapy sessions. Those are face-to-face. All the community of practice sessions are virtual. So the 12 community practice sessions on Tuesday nights are virtual. And a unique piece is all participants are welcome to the ketamine sessions. So the individuals that are in the resilience stream are able to come to those sessions, experience what the flow and what the energetic container feels like for them to experience that. So what does a typical community of practice look like? I'm not going to go through each and every one of these lines here, but each virtual session is about 2 hours in length. It's highly structured. It's the same structure every week. The only thing that changes week after week is that coming to know piece, and that's the more educational side where we're feeding the brain, and it's somebody from our team teaching as it relates to the topic for the week. So one week might be unconditional positive regard, another week might be relationships or finding your purpose. And then the other thing to touch on is the longer check-in piece. That's the only other part that changes week after week. Otherwise, the structure is going to be very, very similar week to week. The group CAT sessions, again, same small group. Those are 4.5 to 5 hours in duration. And the first 30 minutes is medical, getting your vitals checked, visiting with the doctor, and then about an hour of preparation time as a group in your small group, and then a 2-hour medicine experience, and then a 1-hour integration as a talking circle afterwards. This is an example of our group therapy room. You can see, I think there's 9 mats there. Everyone chooses a mattress to sit on. We've got an altar in the middle, and participants are invited to bring anything to the altar that they would like if they wanted to step into that process. And every mattress has a weighted blanket, some earphones. Music is a big part of the experience. An eye mask and multiple eye masks in a basket beside each of their mattresses. And yeah, and one unique piece is a paper bag it's a teaching from Snuneymuxw Elder Geraldine Manson, where we collect the tears of all the participants, the tissues that absorb the tears, and we consider those an offering and have a ceremonial burning at some point after the session. Yeah, and I think I'll wrap up with that. But beyond these 2 programs, we offer an alumni program as well, and I won't get into all the details of that, but it's a continuation of the 12-week offering that we have for folks. And I'll say thank you.